Moving into the top 50, Tyrese Maxey at 50, Evan Mobley at 49, Julius Randle 48, Draymond Green 47, Aaron Gordon 46, Desmond Bane 45, DeJounte Murray 44, DeMar DeRozan 43, Chris Middleton 42, and LaMelo Ball at 41. This is a tough one because you've got some guys that previously were ranked higher, like a LaMelo or Chris Middleton, and Draymond Green, and guys that were ranked lower than this, like a Tyrese Maxey or Aaron Gordon, who I think deserve to be here, and you could potentially even justify being higher. But this is where I have these guys.
Draymond's numbers. Golly, Draymond was such a freaking mess. Like a positive mess defensively in the playoffs. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
He was still a negative offensive player, but he went insane defensively in the playoff.
Yeah. And so you have to justify having a guy like him in the top 50. I remember doing my power forward rankings and thinking, okay, I would rather have Aaron Gordon, but I think I would rather have Draymond Green than Julius Randle. Just like, even though Julius Randle is he's in, well, I mean, he was just like second or third team all NBA again this year. Again.
Oh my gosh.
The regular season value is there with somebody like that. But the reason why I have him lower than those guys is because the playoffs are a different beast.
Can't guard up in the playoff, can guard down in the playoffs, and doesn't hit a shot in the playoffs. What did he shoot? 40% last year?
It's not great. It's not great when you have guys that can sit on the 19-foot turnaround jumper or wall off the paint. Then like it's gonna be tough for a guy like him. But this is why he's here and why he's not higher.
Yeah, I think Desmond Bane's better than DeJounte Murray. I think Aaron Gordon's better than DeJounte Murray. I think Draymond's better than DeJounte Murray. I just think their value and what they offer to a playoff setting is just much more valuable than DeJounte at this point.
Interesting.
But
I
also think, but again, Jamar, I had him at 17 last year because he was 13. He was all NBA last year, and I let the regular season weigh in heavily to that. And he scored 40 versus Giannis, by the way, but nobody remembers that because they don't like Chicago Bulls. LaMelo. Wait,
polarizing player.
Didn't last year DeMar DeRozan 2 years ago was 6 straight games of 35 on 55% shooting? Or
yeah,
like that?
I think that was 2021-22. So a couple years ago.
Yeah, LaMelo is a difficult player. Matt had him at 83, which everybody obviously got on him about that. I think 41 is fair. I think in the 40s is fair. I guess when we're looking at, that's the thing. His responsibility in the playoff setting would be distinctively different from everybody on this list because he's the point guard and the primary creator.
I think that as they get more functional around him, like this is kind of like Jalen Green. As they get more functional around him, he's going to look and feel and play better. And the actual gunner mentality that he's been labeled with, he will still be a little bit of a gunner, but that's just because of his personality. Like it's who he is, but he also is one of the 5 to 10 best passers in the league.
Yeah, I'm fine with. I don't have a lot of argument with it. It's hard to kind of push back on this. I think Julius Randle is entirely too high.
All right, that's if that's the worst one, then I am okay with it.
I like Tyrese Maxey. He doesn't play any defense, but great off-ball player, great transition player, good on-ball creator, great scorer, great shooter. Yeah,
definitely a guy along with Evan Mobley on this list that could rise very high.
So you'd rather have Tyrese over? Oh man, that's the thing. But if you don't have Jordan Poole here, that's where it gets difficult. Because if Jordan Poole was in Philly with Embiid and Harden, then Jordan Poole would also look much better, and he's also a better on-ball. I think. He's a better on-ball creator and playmaker, I think, than Tyrese Maxey is too.
I disagree with that. Tyrese is just so much more efficient. And but
I'm saying, but relative to the fact that, but even Jordan Poole, though, this efficiency dropped with this last season. But I personally think
it's not just that though. Like it's the high volume of turnovers. Jordan Poole led the NBA in turnovers this last year. Like Tyrese Maxey doesn't turn the ball over at all. Jordan
efficient. Poole 2 years prior though was on an ascension to where we actually thought he was going to be an all-star level guard at some point. And I think last year, because of the whole Draymond situation and the team was chaotic, I think that affected what happened with him. I think he obviously had his own doing in some of that, his gameplay needs to get better, but I just think Jordan Poole in a different situation would just be a much different kind of player.
In retrospect, Poole should probably be in the 80s or 90s on this list. I don't have him there for obvious reasons. Like he didn't deserve it based off of last year alone, but like previous data should say that he's on this list. So let's move on. 31 to 40. This is where we do another tier break. 40, Darius Garland. 39, Rudy Gobert. 38, Bradley Beal. 37, Zach LaVine. 36, Karl Anthony Towns. And 35.
How is Rudy behind Karl when he's clearly a better basketball player?
This is bad. This is not how the list should read. I am sorry. Now those 35 to 40 are correct. 31 to 34, that should not read that. Those guys are 21 to 24 on my list.
I'm about to say.
Yeah. Let me I can't do any edits on this, but everybody who is watching this, 31 is Brandon Ingram, 32 is Drew Holiday, 33 is Pascal Siakam, 34 is Jaren Jackson.
Why are Pascal and Jaren so low?
Because everybody's really freaking talented in this league. Like there's just a lot of guys
but I just don't. Yeah, I don't think they're that low personally. But Rudy Gobert is better than Karl Anthony Towns. I'm not sure why this is even a discussion. Rudy Gobert is also better than McKay. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm the only person that respects elite defense and rim protection over here. Literally changes the defense when he's on the court. Karl Anthony Towns is a positive.
I'm not sure he changes the defense as much anymore. That's the thing.
1 year later,
it's not. Well, so he had a little bit of fall off the previous season, like just a little bit. You saw a little bit of drop off, and then this last year it kind of dropped off a cliff a little bit.
Gobert for that trash team. Let me look at this.
He's also just extremely limited offensively. Like that's just the thing. Like the difference between him and Jared Allen is not like that drastic.
Man, I'm not doing this. There's just no way you're making this argument with me. All right. So let me see. Let me pull this up, make sure I'm not tripping. All right. We're talking about playoffs. All right. One of these players is a positive playoff player. And then let me pull the other guy up. One of these players is a clear positive in the playoff. The other one is a massive negative in the playoff setting.
Yeah, you're doing it. You're doing the thing. All right.
No, one of them is literally was a humongous, the same level of impact Draymond had defensively in the playoff. He was almost the opposite in terms of overall value.
Let me go back to.
No, show me the list.
Okay, we're going to. Oh God. Well, or is that other one? Okay, we're gonna. This is.
I'm not looking at the list.
Yeah, don't show that shit. Okay. Here's where it should have. Okay, look at it now. This is what 31 to 40 should have looked like. Brandon Ingram, Drew Holiday, Pascal Siakam, Jaren Jackson, Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns, Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal, Rudy Gobert, Darius Garland. This
is insane, bro. There's no way. We watched the playoffs last year, and your takeaway was that Cat is a better player than Rudy Gobert.
So he is the one that's been most disrupted, obviously, by the Rudy Gobert trade. Like Rudy, there's only one way to play with Rudy Gobert. It's Rudy Gobert style basketball. And
did we not just watch Karl the year before have 8 points in a playoff game as the lead option?
I know. You're right. I mean, look, I am going to be on the side that
you are a heavy tween merchant. There's no way that he's a more impactful player than Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, I know.
They play on the same team. And when one of them was on the court without the other, abysmal. When the other one was on the court without the other, they were okay.
So this is in the playoffs. In the regular season, that was actually not the case.
Rudy Gobert, Kyle Anderson, Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, and Mike Conley is going to be their best lineup next year.
You are okay.
I'm cooking with grease, sir.
We'll see. We will see. Look at the rest of this list. Is there any other so it's not De'Aaron Fox, Paul George?
Yeah, we'll go to the next list because I don't believe that next one. Jaren Jackson and Pascal are this low.
You get into the All-Star
Sabonis is not a better basketball player than Pascal Siakam. He's not. We saw him in the playoffs. Couldn't do anything. No post game. They were leaving wide open. He was a negative defensively. There's no way you're telling me he's a better basketball player than Spicy P, than NBA champion, than the 6'10" super athletic wing who's the lead playmaker on a bad offense and the lead creator on a bad offense. The best offensive option on a bad offense was a net positive defender. There's no way if they switch the situation, Pascal with the Kings in a playoff setting, that they lose that series. Even if he plays to 5, you are smoking rocks, sir. There's no way. Fix this list. Fix this list. Fix this list.
Oh my God. This is why you're the GOAT. Domantas Sabonis at 29 versus Pascal Siakam at 33. I'm sorry. I am sorry. Yeah, no, that is just how I feel, man. And
did
I
you
am
watch
sorry
the play? I'm genuinely asking. Did you watch the playoff last year?
Of course I did, man. And I watched that series and I was very fascinated by what happened. And yeah, Domantas Sabonis got his sternum crunched in by Draymond Green.
Oh my God!
Might have affected him. Might have affected the game. No, it's not just that. Look, Domantas Sabonis was clearly the third best center in the league last year. Clearly. And like
in a regular season, not including
season,
Anthony Davis.
Regular season.
Was he better than Anthony Davis? He wasn't better than Anthony Davis last year.
Ooh, actually,
sample size included, he wasn't better than Anthony Davis last year.
Okay, you are right. You are right. It's tough.
Wait, by the way, Pascal Siakam last year, 24, 7.8, 5.8, 77% from the line. He shot 52% from 2, 32% from 3, and 18 attempts a game. 24, 7, and 5. Do you know how many players in the NBA did that last year?
Probably just like 1 or 2.
Let me look this up. I'm going to pull it up for you.
Okay.
I can't even use my phone. I can't even pull it up. I have to use my computer.
Pascal Siakam's one of those guys that is always going to be underrated for me while he's on the Raptors, just because of the tough situation that he has been put in playing next to guys that duplicate his skill set, and OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes. Like it's really tough for him and for the Raptors to be successful while those guys are all together, in my opinion. Like I think that they should be breaking up that trio, and that would probably elevate him higher on this list if they had a little bit more spacing around him.
I'm saying to you though,
yeah,
that Pascal Siakam intrinsically adds more value to your basketball team than Domantas Sabonis in a playoff setting. Because guess what? His go-to offensive bag as a playmaker and scorer are just fundamentally better than anything Domantas can do in a playoff setting. And he's a far better defender, like a switchable 1 through 5 defender. So just that alone,
probably right. You are probably,
but I'm saying, but if we look at the facsimile of that in modern NBA history, who else other than Pascal and like elite level players can have that kind of portability and give you 25, 5, and 5?
Okay. Counterpoint. Just looking up Domantas Sabonis' numbers.
18, 12, and 7 in the regular season. I know what they were, sir.
It was 19, 12, and 7. He shot.
Stop rounding it up.
No, it was 19.1. That's straight up 19.1 points per game, 12.3 rebounds, 7.3 assists, 61.5% from the field, 37.3% from 3, but he shot 1 attempt per game, so that doesn't really matter. In the playoffs, it was not great. 16.4, 11, and 4.7. And he shot 49.5% from the field. So, like, the actual offensive numbers did drop. But, like, if I just go and look up Pascal's numbers from the last time that he was in the playoffs.
Oh, my gosh.
22.8, 7.2, 5.8 on 47.7. He was a little bit better, but not like tremendously better. This wasn't a different tier that we're talking about here.
Here, I'm pulling up these numbers because I want to make this point because again, this is ridiculous to me.
This is not the debate I thought we were going to have today.
I think Pascal Siakam's a great player. I'm not letting you disrespect Canada, sir. I'm standing up for Canada.
Dude, I'm gonna have like Jamal Murray 7.
No, you're not. Hold on. All right. So last year, bro, come on. Let's get this criteria.
Anyway, I mean, so the rest of this list, for people that are audio listeners that have not even heard me say it, Lauri Markkanen's 30, Domantas Sabonis 29, James Harden 28, Kyrie Irving 27, Zion Williamson 26, Jalen Brunson 25, Tyrese Halliburton 24, Jaylen Brown 23, Paul George 22, and De'Aaron Fox 21. Swipa is here debating the 29th and 33rd best players on my list like it is his life's work.
You wanted content, sir.
And I got it. That rant was epic. That rant was something else.
Can you do me a favor and go to StatHead, please? Because it's being massively stupid right now.
Sure.
24-7 and 4 last year.
What do you want me to look up?
24. How many players averaged 24-7 and 4 last year?
Just last year. All right. We're going. This is great podcast content here.
That's why they're understanding because they know I'm making a righteous defense right now.
Yes, this is clutching the pearls at its finest.
Clutching
24, 7 and 4.
Yeah.
All right, just straight up in 2022-23, you had 9 guys. You had Jokić, Embiid, Tatum, Doncic, Giannis, Julius Randle, Pascal Siakam, LeBron James, and Zion Williamson.
Pascal 33.
Hey, I had Julius Randle 48.
No, Julius Randle doesn't count. He fails in the playoffs. That's a completely different player. That's not Pascal. Pascal was in the play-in.
For what it's worth, have we seen Pascal like as a first or second option like dominate in the playoffs?
Better than we've seen Domantas Sabonis do it.
Okay.
That's what we're comparing. That's what we're comparing.
Okay, it is a tough front line for a guy like Domantas Sabonis to go against the Golden State Warriors. He would have also had a tough job against the Los Angeles Lakers, but you put him against the Phoenix Suns.
Okay, he would have had a tough job versus the Nuggets. Tough job versus the Lakers. Tough job versus the Sun. Tough job versus the Clippers. Tough job versus the Warriors. Okay. Tough job versus OKC. Tough job versus Minnesota.
No, he would not have had a tough job versus OKC.
I'm sorry. He can't turn over his left shoulder and do a consistent hook shot. No post game in the playoffs.
There is a difference between going up against Draymond Green and Kevin Looney versus going up against Jalen Williams, like Arkansas.
Okay, what about Jokić? What about Jokić?
Okay, he's one on my list. Just as a clear delineation there.
So again, we can move on from this because you're not convincing me of this. I'm not standing for this. No way. Just absolutely no way. I'm standing for this.
That's fine.
And Zion's here because of injury, I imagine.
Yeah, Zion's here because would you want him to be much higher?
Well, I mean, if he was healthy, he'd be higher. So whatever. I'm not.
Maybe. We'll see. Like, did you know that he has played over 30 games once in his NBA career?
Yeah, and I think when he plays, he's probably a top 17 player, 15 player, if not. So
that seems reasonable. So 26 is a fair drop off for him. Other guys on this list does anybody else stand out as a weird placement here?
I don't know. Depends how you feel about Kyrie. I think Kyrie's a better player than Jalen Brunson, but I understand the things about Kyrie that people make him drop.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just that. It's like I do think that Kyrie, like, he struggles to lift up other people in the regular season. Like, his numbers are what they are. They are great. But like what Jalen Brunson just did for the Knicks and lifting them up, like, there's a clear delineation from what Kyrie has done in the last couple of years. So is what it is. All right, let's move on. 11 to 20. This is where we get into the next tier as well. Tier 3 All-Stars, 20 Bam Adebayo, 19 Jamal Murray, 18 Ja Morant, 17 Anthony Edwards, 16 Trae Young, 15 Donovan Mitchell. You and I have had the Trae Young debate before. I think that he is in the right place here. But I've also moved up Donovan Mitchell since our talks. I think that Mitchell got underrated because of the playoffs last year, but he was debatably first team All NBA, and ultimately made second team All NBA as a guard, which is just really, really hard to do. Like, so
who was supposed to make first team All NBA over Shea or
it was,
Luka?
I mean, it was going to be either Shea or Luka. For much of the time, probably Shea, but like Shea, I think is like there's a reason why Shea is higher on this list than Donovan.
Yeah, Trae Young, I think he's a great player. I think everything for him is just, yeah, man, he was a great offensive player in the playoff versus the Celtics. Really bad defender, obviously. The year before, he was a terrible player in the playoff. But again, that I don't really blame him for that Miami Heat collapse. I mean, the team around him was just trash. I love Trae. I think Trae's just, I think it's just hard to place him because his defensive value, can't switch, can't off ball, can't on ball. He did rip Steph last year, so he'll always have that. But yeah, sure, no problem. Jamal, people are torn on Jamal. They don't know what to do with Jamal.
Personally, I think this is the right place for him. Like, you can't put him higher than this, even though, like, in the playoffs, I think you could justify
a better regular season player than Jalen Brunson, though. But so it just depends on what you value. Like, you're upping him because of his playoff, but he's also playing next to Joker. So people then are saying, well, if Jalen Brunson played next to Joker, but I actually think Jamal's skill set fits functionally for the 21st century kind of offense you need to run next to a superstar big. So,
and like you can absolutely justify that Jamal was a top 10 playoff player last year. Like, absolutely.
No, he was higher than that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So, but like, so I think
that's the thing. In a regular season, he was probably like 35, maybe, or something like that in a regular season.
I think so. 35 in the regular season, 10 or so for me in the playoffs. Maybe even like 8.
No, stop saying 8. He was higher than that.
All right. And then like, so you average those out, and this is about where it should come out, in my opinion.
I just don't get, and this is healthy. Kawhi Leonard's a top 10 player. This is not even a conversation. Like, this is just not even a conversation. Kawhi Leonard has an argument in a playoff setting. Kawhi Leonard has an argument as the best player in the league that you would want if he's healthy. And I think in a regular season setting,
that is.
What do you mean? No. Add it up. Offensively, he's incredible in the playoffs. Defensively, he's a very good playoff player. He's better than Kevin Durant in the playoffs by himself as a one option. He was better than Giannis when he had an opportunity to be better than Giannis. Now, again,
looking at the numbers, I understand.
Wait, can you read those off? What are his playoff numbers the last couple of years? Do 21. Do 21 in last year.
I'm going to include 2019 as well, because that was his Toronto year.
Yeah.
Now, this was, just to be clear, this was his prime. So, like,
he is
also going to come down from this.
Well, I'm saying don't do 2019 because that was so far away. Do 21 up to now because that's actually who he is.
Okay. I will include, there we go. So, while he's been with the Clippers, 29.6 points, 8.4 rebounds, 5.1 assists, 2.2 steals, 53% from the field, 37% from 3, 87 from the line. Like, I mean, this is it's sick. It's actually sick what he's done. Like, there's clearly an elite playoff player. Like, you also have to factor in the regular season too with this. Like, I am not just doing a top 100 playoff players.
I get that, but I'm saying we're assuming health for all these players. I think assuming health, Kawhi Leonard is probably. He'd probably be 6. I think he's like 6 for me if health is included. Because I think he's a better basketball player than Jason Tatum, Jimmy Butler, LeBron at this point, Devin Booker. I think he's better than Joel Embiid.
Interesting. I mean, hey, I don't fault you for that. He's in this tier. And what I usually argue about with these tiers is that you can make the argument that, like, within the tier, anybody can be over anybody else.
But I think the Anthony Davis thing, you and I argued about this already. I don't think you could put Shea over AD, given that Shea has no playoff sample size except for one playing game, which he was trash in. And Anthony Davis had one of the best defensive runs of the last 25 years, and he was a positive offensive player through the entire run. He was the best player of the Lakers.
Yeah. For me, like, this is my top 100 players right now at this current moment. And I think that Shea is just going to keep going up, and I think that AD is just going to keep going down because
why would he go down?
Because he's getting older. He has a lot of miles on him. He is like physically playing the center position. He's physically taxed. He's already talking about playing the 4 next.
But
to
he said
Christian
that.
Wood at the
He said
5,
that 3 years ago. He said that 3 years ago.
He will continue to I mean, that's just going to continue to happen. Like that's just.
But again, Anthony Davis
last
year regular season 26, 12.5, 2.6, 2 blocks, 1.2 steals a game. And even if you just go with the advanced information, he was a massive positive offensive player, a plus defensive player this last year. And then you compare that to Shea Gilgeous. Shea last year averaged 31.4, 4.8, 5.5, and the same analytical numbers that point for Davis. I mean, he was a better offensive player, and it says a slightly worse defensive player. But we can't measure defense that way because there's just no way. Everybody knows Anthony Davis is a much better defensive player. So I don't know, bro. I just don't think I personally just couldn't do that.
Now, I mean, you're going to argue for a lot of guys to be higher, but like there's just a lot of players that are really, really good in this league, and I think this is the deepest that the league has ever been. And so you add all that up, and some guys are going to be lower than you think, and that's just an unfortunate reality of this. But this is where I have him. Any arguments with the tier 3 top guys?
Not really.
All right. Now let's move into the top 10. Everybody's been waiting for the top 10 here. I have made lots of checks and balances on my list, and this is where I ultimately came out. Actually, did I even read out the last one? Just so for the audio listeners, Bam Adebayo 20, Jamal Murray 19, John Morant 18, Anthony Edwards 17, Trae Young 16, Donovan Mitchell 15, 14 is Damian Lillard, 13 Anthony Davis, 12 Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 11 Kawhi Leonard. So like Kawhi is very close to top 10 in that. But now we get into the top 10. Number 10, Jimmy Butler. Number 9, LeBron James. Number 8, Devin Booker. Number 7, Jason Tatum. Number 6, Joel Embiid. Number 5, Kevin Durant. Number 4, and this is where we break into the elite tier as opposed to the all-NBA tier. Luka's in the elite tier at 4, Steph at 3, Giannis at 2, Jokic at 1. This is a fun conversation to have at the top because I think Jokic is clearly 1, but also within the same tier as some of these other guys. And then all NBA, this is where that's where the delineation is. 5 to 14 for me is where the delineation is. What say you, sir?
I don't think Jokic is in the same tier as these other players based on what we just saw. So I think there's obviously a gap. I think the numbers say there's a gap. I think the impact data says there's a gap. I think the raw data says there's a gap. So I think there is a gap between him and Giannis. I think Giannis and Steph are in a tier, and I think Luka's in its own tier. I think you can interchange Steph and Giannis depending on what you value. I don't think that Devin Booker, I think he could be that high. Again, I think I think the thing I'm having troubles with your list is we're assuming health. Devin Booker played 16 more games than Kawhi Leonard last year, and Kawhi Leonard is objectively a better basketball player than Devin Booker. And he's in the same tier offensively as Devin Booker, at least in the same tier. So even just looking at their numbers in the playoff setting.
Yeah, like I think I was definitely affected by Booker's run in the playoffs. I think seeing what he did and seeing how unguardable he was for most of that time really elevated him. That the conversations that we've had offline, I had Devin Booker above Jason Tatum for a while and had him at 7. Decided to move him down to 8, just thinking about the two-way value that Tatum brings. But look, I think that Devin Booker deserves to be in the top 10 based off of what he just did. I really do. And I think that's
but he was better. But I think the issue though he wasn't better even when they played against each other. For even as a 2-game sample size, Kawhi Leonard was clearly the best player on the court over the course of that run, and he had a significantly worse team around him. His second best player was Russell Westbrook or Eric Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good argument, man. Like, I don't blame you. I think that if we're ranking playoff players, Kawhi
Not even
is,
just playoff, but he played 16 more games than them. So it's like not even – he played 47, Kawhi played 31. They both got hurt.
Yeah, that's true. I only played like, okay.
31, yeah.
Kawhi played with like
yeah, I think it's 31 games.
52 games. You're looking at the age. Kawhi played
52
my
bad. He played. No, wait a minute. So he played more games 53. Than Devin Booker.
Wow.
So they played the same amount of games, and Kawhi Leonard was clearly better in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Fix this list.
No, I mean, they, like I talked about, they're in the same tier. They deserve to be in the same tier.
They're not in the same tier.
I disagree with that. I really.
No, I'm saying they're quite literally in different tiers, aren't they?
No. I mean, so tier 2 is all NBA. So Devin Booker's 8, and you can continue that tier. Like, this is the back end of that tier 2, basically. Like, they're just like 5 to 14 for me is all in one tier.
I think you're tripping, bro. I just don't. It's not all that consistent. I think that if you're doing 52 and 53 games, one of them was clearly better than the other.
I mean, so I think you go around the NBA and you ask people who they think the better player is. I think a lot of people would say Devin Booker right now.
But Devin Booker wouldn't be in them talks.
People would say.
No,
I disagree. No, look, he was talking like people were talking about him as the best playoff player before the final.
All right, bet. You know what I'm gonna do. Watch this. I'm gonna. You know what I do? I love making graphs, so I'm gonna make a graphic and put this out today. So I'm saying though, bro, Devin Booker isn't in the talks with Kawhi because Kawhi is in the talks with Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard are the actual conversation.
You should do combined regular season and playoff numbers for both of those guys and put them out as a blind poll and see like what people say.
Yeah, and guess what? And then also add defense into there. Devin Booker was a negative defender in the playoffs.
I disagree with him being a negative.
What do you mean you disagree? You watched him play.
I thought he was good defensively.
Okay, can you look up the number? Look up Devin Booker's playoff numbers defensively, please. You can find this stuff.
Yeah, 1.7 steals, 0.8 blocks in the playoffs last year.
Now you're doing raw data. Look at this. The analytics merchants are doing raw data.
All right, let's go to DBM. That's not a great metric, obviously, but playoffs, he was 2.0 DPM.
After the first, okay. I guess I would look also very good if Russell Westbrook was the best player I was guarding. I would also look great in that series.
Okay, see now you are just you are gaslighting the shit out of me right now. No, like look, I think that Devin Booker is incredibly good, and I think that's. There are nights where he is at the top of this tier. There are nights where he's at the bottom of this tier. He is probably like less consistent on the defensive end than some of these other guys for sure. But like offensively, he is about as good as you can get on like from the shooting guard position. So I think that he deserves to be on this list in the top 10. That is my opinion.
He's the second best player on his own team. All these other players are all the number one options on the team.
I think fine. I think he's if we're going to call him a second option, he is the very best second option in the league, like bar none.
But Kawhi Leonard is the number one option on this team, and he's just as good offensively, much better.
Does anything about the Suns' offense this last year make you think that Devin Booker was actually the second option?
I know he's the second best player on his team. I know he's the second best player on his team.
That's fine, and I have Kevin Durant at 5. Like, so we agree.
But I'm saying they have different roles in the offense. And again, we also agree that Kawhi Leonard's offensive help in the playoff was significantly worse than Devin Booker's, and he was still better. And that's not even talking about the defensive value.
In 2 games.
They played the same amount of games in the regular season, and Kawhi Leonard was still better.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Can you? Man, I don't. Where is this? Now look at me. I'm over here protecting Kawhi Leonard. Goodness gracious!
Yeah, I don't know what's
you're happened to the world.
Leonard so strongly.
I love Kawhi Leonard. He's an incredible player.
Yeah, I mean, regular season, his numbers were great. Like 51, 41, 87. Booker's a better passer. Booker makes plays for others a little bit more than Kawhi. And that's an important aspect of it, in my opinion.
Beat a double team, Devin Booker.
He did pretty frequently against the Nuggets.
Yeah, all right. And then what happens in the end of the series?
Yeah, Kawhi would have folded by game 3.
No, he would not. You are such a liar.
Okay, folks. This is
wait. Hold on.
Okay.
No, wait a minute. Hold on. Are you? What? Why do you actually think there's right now, based on what you've seen, you don't think there's a gap between Jokić in the field?
I'd put him one with a bullet. Like there's no doubt that he is the top of this tier, but I don't think that he has done enough to separate like, oh yeah, we need to create the Jokić tier. Maybe he has, and maybe that's a failing on my part. But I think that there are nights where Giannis could be the best player in the league, where Steph could be the best player in the league, where Luka could be the best player in the league. You could even extend it to the regular season and then talk about Embiid. But like in the playoffs, we've seen Giannis go for 50 points in Game 6 of the NBA Finals.
Oh, he did versus DeAndre Ayton. Wait, Jokić averaged what? 34, 13, and 11 in that same series versus that same player.
We've never seen Steph Curry go for a bad playoff series in his life. Like he did.
He just did. He just did. Look at his numbers. He just did.
Okay. I don't think it was bad.
He thought 30% from 3 in that series.
It wasn't 30%. It was
32.
Not 30.
It was 32. It was 32%.
Okay, so like with Steph, like with as much gravity,
12 attempts a game, as much gravity.
Using the buzzword here. Gravity is really cool. No, okay, so we're gonna just look up his playoff numbers. Steph. Okay, so you want to know what he averaged in that series?
30 points. I know.
No. 26.7, 7.5 assists, 5.5 rebounds, 1.2 steals. 44% from the field, 34% from 3, 88% from the line. So like that was his bad series, man. Like
it wasn't a bad series, but he's had worse series now. Stop gaslighting. He had not had every series he's been in has not been great.
I mean,
you know that.
We just did the exercise. I look back through it. I know he's great. He is a great player. Luka,
said he's not a great player.
No, okay. Luka, I think, deserves to be in this tier. So, okay, so with the framing that you have, maybe Jokić should be in tier 1 by himself, and then tier 2 should be the elite, tier 3 should be all NBA. I didn't want to do it like that. I didn't think it was necessary.
Hold on. The reason it's necessary, when is the last time there was a consensus number 1 player in the NBA like this? That had a run from regular season to playoff. Don't shoot
the year before with Giannis. Like
no, it wasn't. There's no way you can say that, given that he flamed out again because of offensive destruction in the second half versus the Celtics, and he was up 3-2 in that series. Stop doing this. Stop running away from the conversation about Giannis. There's just no way you can say that.
I've done this. Okay, so when doing these exercises before, one of the things that when I tried to create this list and talk about Jokić and talk about like dominance, one of the things I wanted to do was go back and look at other people's lists, their top 100 lists. 2022, so not this year, last year, Giannis was the top 1 with a bullet on every single list, every single one.
Yeah, sure, but this is what I'm saying though. This is what's so interesting.
But that's what I'm talking about with like you're asking me for.
But that was just examples. Based on. I'm not. No.
So 2022, it was Giannis. 2021, every list that I looked at had Kevin Durant as the top player in the league.
Kevin Durant.
Yeah, no, that is true. Like,
but that wasn't based on hoops, though. That was based on narrative and speculation. Kevin Durant had a 47 and a 48-point game versus the Bucks in the second round and lost. Went 0-6 in overtime, and nobody brought it up. They said, "Well, if Kyrie and James Harden were there, therefore these 2 games, this 1 series versus the Bucks that he lost, put him in the conversation above Giannis, put him in the conversation above Joker, and put him in the conversation above Steph." And then the next year, after he lost, Jokić, same year, 31, 13, and 6 versus the eventual champion, and nobody else had the numbers against him. And everybody said that he was speculatively maybe a top 5 player. Giannis, though, versus the Celtics, who got mud stomped in the finals, didn't put up that good of a performance versus the Celtics as Jokić put up versus the Warriors. But after that, because of the DPOY, the defensive value by himself, oh, look, he had 200 points, 100 rebounds, and 50 assists in the series. Therefore, he must be the number one player in the league. And now all of a sudden, Joker, 30, 13, and 10, 61% true shooting versus the Wolves, 26, 12, and 9 versus the Sun, 33, 13, and 10 versus the Lakers, Anthony Davis and LeBron James, 28, 15, and 12, and then 30, 14, and 7. That's what it took. That's an actual run. It didn't end with disappointment and people saying maybe because of this round that he lost. Because when Joker lost in the first round, 31, 13, and 6, 35, 15, and 6, the last 3 games in that series, nobody said nothing about him. Matt Kellerman said he's not even a consensus top 5 player. And he lost. But Giannis, he gets smoked out by the Heat this year. He plays in 3 of those games. They go 0-3 the games he played against him, ran from the ball, 0-13 in the last 13 free throw attempts, basically. But all of a sudden, Giannis had a hurt back. So last year, he had a hurt back. The year before, there was no Chris Middleton. 2 years prior to that, he's in the bubble, and Drew Hall and Drew Bledsoe is there. When did Jokić, 2021, he sucked, got smoked out in the second round. Next year, he sucks, got smoked out by the Warriors, even though he was averaging 31, 10, and 5. Nobody gave him that pass. But so now Joker has to do something nobody else has ever done. Lead the entire playoff in points, rebounds, and assists. And now all of a sudden, now he's consensus, he's the best. But these other dudes, they get to beat Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks in the Eastern Conference Finals and get to play against the Phoenix Suns, and DeAndre Ayton have 50 points in a game 6, and he just averaged 34, 13, and 12 versus that same player. That's what doesn't make sense to me. This is not based on hoops. There's no way Ryan Blackburn, whatever your middle name, Ryan Ramon Blackburn, that you're going to tell me Kevin Durant was the best player in the world because of 1 series and 2 games versus the Milwaukee Bucks after 2021.
I was just looking up other people's top 100s. That's all it was. It wasn't my opinion. Oh my God. Oh wow. All right. I'm gonna go get a Nikola to clip that. All right. Yeah, no, that was, I mean, look, I think that Jokić is one with a bullet. There's nobody else in the league that can arguably be above him right now. Based off of the regular season and playoffs, there's no way. I think that this is going to be what it looks like for a long time. And it's going to be really cool to be able to see Jokić win another MVP, win another finals MVP, go to the Olympics and beat Team USA. Like, all of these things can happen. And if they do, it's just going to continue cementing Jokić as the greatest player of this generation. And that is very exciting.
I just think it's really funny to me. I honestly now feel what Steph fans have said for years about Steph and LeBron. But the problem is I think the Steph-LeBron thing was always difficult because LeBron, 14, 15, he had nobody on the roster with him after Kyrie and Kevin Love went down. And then they got Kevin Durant, and he had no choice. There's no chance for him to beat that team. They beat him straight up in 2015-16. And so everybody was like, well, how do you keep losing when you're the best player? The difference is LeBron clearly had to shoulder a load nobody else has outside of maybe one player ever, which is Jordan, and done it well. And so for me, that's why LeBron was always the GOAT in terms of this era and the best player in the world, because it was just clear he was doing something nobody else could do. I think the difference is people tried to crown Giannis after the 18-19, 19-20 season, and it was like, he is it. He does, even though the playoff performances aren't lining up. Ryan, for the last 5 years, we have data that shows he dropped offensively, but it's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And he was the favorite versus the Heat in 2020. He was the favorite in 2022. He was the favorite this last season. When has Jokić lost as the favorite?
He's never lost as the favorite, other than he's never lost as the favorite.
The Portland year, 2018-19. I don't know if they were the direct favorite.
Actually, I think they were pretty even that year, if I recall.
But I'm saying, they were like puffed. That was their first playoff run. I'm saying since that point, that hasn't happened. And he hasn't underperformed in the series. Because even the Lakers series, people point to, he still averaged 22, 7, and 6. And he shot over 50% from the field. It was just the way he was being guarded. He couldn't get a lot of volume up. But he went toe-to-toe with LeBron James down the stretch of Game 2 and Game 5.
Yeah, I think that one, and between some foibles in not last year's run, but the year before, like
the Phoenix run, you mean?
The 2021 Suns round, and then even against the Warriors this like a couple of years ago. Hold
on. But he averaged 24, 10, and 5 in those first 2 games. Like Embiid's not even averaging that in his career, and he gets
you're right about that. You're right about that.
Oh, Embiid, look at him. He's averaging his best series. He averaged 23, 7, and 3 versus the Washington Wizards, and nobody says anything about it. But Jokic's first 2 games, for the next 3 games, 35, 15, and 6, and everybody's like, oh, well, he should have done it sooner. He should have done something nobody else done sooner.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point. All right, man. Well, unless you have any other smattering of takes that you want to get off your chest looking at this list, just in review, like, okay, what would you grade my top 100 on a scale of 1 to 10?
I mean, top 100s are hard, so it's a B+. Top 100s are hard. It's hard. Right. It's extremely difficult to look at 100 players and to use eye test data, playoff, regular season, clutch, all that stuff, and put a list together. There are absolutely players I disagree with, but you put effort, you put thought into it. You also made changes. We also agree that Jalen Green was entirely too high. Alperen Sengun should have been on the list. Jordan Poole should have been on the list. I think that I convinced you, if you're a righteous man, that Pascal Siakam is better than Domantas Sabonis.
Those guys could probably swap places.
I think Devin Booker projected, sure, but I think again, just everybody's healthy. I just think Kawhi Leonard, for my money, is probably this is how good Kawhi Leonard is. Kawhi Leonard, if he's healthy, is arguably the 4th best player in the league. He has an argument to be over Luka when he's healthy. He's that freaking good.
Oh yeah, they faced off against each other, and like we've seen how those series have gone. And like Kawhi has shown up.
Twice.
Twice. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like Kawhi is just his injuries keep him back. So again, and Embiid, I think on match list, I think Embiid had Embiid like 9. I also am of the mindset like you'd rather have Joker, Steph, Giannis, Luka, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, LeBron. You'd rather have Jason Tatum. You'd rather have Jimmy Butler. You'd rather have Anthony Davis. You probably would rather have, I don't know, like you're getting into Dame and all that stuff. You would at least have 10 players, like without a shadow of doubt, before you would have Joel Embiid in the playoffs.
Should take Jamal Murray.
Personally, yes.
Yeah. That's wild.
I mean, just given what he's done, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's not even a question for me. I'll pick Anthony Edwards before I'll take Joel Embiid in the playoff setting.
Oh, it's fair. And like I get it. It's frustrating. I'm sure Philly fans will probably find this and they'll be like, "You assholes! Why would you do that?" But like, he's got to prove it, man. Like, it is the burden of proof is on Joel Embiid. It is not on us.
No more going to Shams talking about, well, why is the pressure on me? I'm not a 2-time MVP. All this other stuff. That all is all done. That whole era is over.
Yeah, that was so funny. It was the funniest shit.
Unprompted.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. All right, folks. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll. Swipa, thank you for tuning in, my guy. This was a good show. And parting thoughts, anything you're working on before we get out of here?
I'm always working on something, y'all. Shout out to Mile High Sports, Locked On Nuggets. There's some other things that are coming up as well. Shout out to my dude Ryan for putting this together. We got an hour and a half of great content, and we got a whole bunch of other stuff coming out. I think we got 6 videos that are supposed to be coming out for y'all over the next month or so. And shout out, I think we'll both be there on Media Day for the Denver Nuggets as well. So more content coming after that. We'll have conversations after that too, Ryan. We can, meet up and talk about what we heard, what we saw, and what we think going forward.
There's going to be a lot coming, folks. We are in a great place content-wise. You're going to get a lot here on the Mile High Sports channel. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like the video. And we will talk to you guys very soon.